Bengals fans, do us a favor and like today's video. We are in a like battle against our Ravens channel. We've really been hitting this hard, right? We got like battles going on, sub battles going on, and we've only got a couple more days in the month. You guys have been doing a fantastic job, but we still have a few more days where we can push it to the max. So make sure you go like this video so we can catch our dreaded Baltimore Raven rivals. Houday Nation, what's going on? Stone Shields on hand once again for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about some free agents that are out there still on the open market. James Rapien, who works for All Bengals, covering the Bengals for Sports Illustrated. He's got a great YouTube channel as well. He does all kinds of stuff. And he had a really nice article this morning that kind of broke down some potential free agent targets the Bengals could be after and looking forward to signing prior to training camp. So without further ado, let's jump right into it and start at the cornerback position with Stephon Gilmore. Obviously, this is a big name, right? Stephon Gilmore has had a really nice career. The past few years, he certainly has fallen off a little bit, right? He's not the player that he once was by any means, but he's still a great veteran player, and he can bring a lot of leadership to the table for the Cincinnati Bengals. And people forget how important he was in that Super Bowl with the Patriots when they beat the Los Angeles Rams. I really don't know if they win that game without Stephon Gilmore. And he really can just bring a lot to the table despite, like I said, kind of falling off in recent years. If you take a look at our depth chart here to see where he could potentially land, I think if the Bengals bring in Stephon Gilmore, it would be in a situation where he would start, right? I don't think he would come in necessarily and be a backup. And I think Cam Taylor-Britt certainly has locked up a starting position. But if they were to bring in Stephon Gilmore, I think you're looking at DJ Turner perhaps coming off the bench. Because I don't think Stephon Gilmore, despite his age, is at the point where he is going to be a backup. Our first chance for you guys to get interactive in the comments with our pinned comment of today's show. Do you think the Cincinnati Bengals should sign Stephon Gilmore? Type S if you think we should sign him, or P if you think the Bengals should pass on him. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Take advantage of it. Hop down there in the comments section and let us know what you think. Look, it's my way of thinking that Gilmore's still weighing out his options, right? There's some narratives out there that he's washed up, can't play. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think he's just looking for that right fit. And he, for whatever reason, hasn't found that yet, but I fully anticipate him signing with someone, before training camp gets underway. And like I said, I do believe he can still play. And he's exactly the guy you want on your team, right? Especially if you have a young secondary like the Bengals do. He could really come up there and be a mentor for a lot of those guys. And like I said, he will be 34 years old in September. So it's by no means a long-term situation if the Bengals were to bring him in, right? But he could kind of be like in that Von Bell role, but at cornerback as opposed to safety. Now, I don't think, I think there's a possibility Von Bell comes off the bench. I don't think Gilmore would be that. But just as far as a veteran player that has the respect of everyone around the league and that could really be a nice mentor for some of the younger guys. Moving along here with James Rapien's list, we have Jerick McKinnon at the running back position. And one thing I really like about Jerick McKinnon is he's an elite pass catcher, right? And I think in terms of the Bengals offense, you want to have a running back that can go out there and catch passes. Because as we know, you need to be able to run the ball if you want to be able to win in this league, especially win in the playoffs. But let's not, kid ourselves here. The Bengals are a pass-first team, and they will be for as long as Joe Burrow is playing quarterback. So I think the fact that he's really good out of the backfield catching, footballs is a reason why he could fit in nicely with the Bengals. Another thing about Jerick McKinnon is he's really good in the red zone, right? And Bengals are going to need guys that are really good at that area of the field. Look, the Bengals aren't going to have problems moving the football. It's all going to be about what happens when they get down in that red area, if they can capitalize and score touchdowns instead of field goals. And McKinnon, throughout his entire career, has done a really nice job of that. So as far as where he could fit in there, you're looking at a Bengals running back room that isn't exactly for certain, I guess you could say. There's a lot of movement that could happen in this room. I think as we've talked about, Moss is probably going to be the guy. But Chase Brown showed a lot of good things last year. It might only be a matter of time before he takes over that running back one position. So you still have some question marks there. And there's another guy that I want to talk about in this running back room, and that's the guy that out of Michigan, Chris Evans. Look, what's the deal with this guy, right? It seems like every time he's on the field, he does something good, but he's never out there on the field. And that leads me to believe that, the coaches certainly have some issues with him. There's a lack of trust there. Maybe he's not good with the playbook and understanding the things he needs to do. But it's pretty clear that the Bengals don't have a lot of trust in Chris Evans, and they're probably looking to add some depth at that position. As far as Travion Williams go, the Bengals did extend him this offseason, but I believe the team kind of views him more as a kick returner than, someone that can go out there and play a lot of snaps for them at running back. So I really do believe that the Bengals would love to add a running back to their room. And as they've shown in the past, they'll sign Kansas City Chiefs, right? We certainly understand the rivalry that is, currently taking place between the Chiefs and the Bengals. But they brought in Orlando Brown Jr. I don't think they would not bring in a guy like Jerick McKinnon just because he played for Kansas City. Once again, your chance to get interactive and hop down there in the comments section. Do you believe the Bengals should sign Jerick McKinnon? Play a little GM for us. See what Duke Tobin, do your best Duke Tobin impersonation. Let us know what you think. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Another player to monitor is Xavien Howard, cornerback, and spent his entire career with the Miami Dolphins. And he's another guy that's a big name that doesn't have a home yet as far as the 2024 season goes. We'll dive into that in a second, but first want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics because Bengals draft hats are still available. Got some really cool hats. Obviously, a lot of the draftees wore these this year. I know I've got mine. I'm excited to wear them throughout the season. And I think you guys should hop down there and get yours as well. That is chatsports.com/Bengals draft hats. That link will be in the description and the comments of today's video. So make sure you go down there and get your Bengals draft hats, courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics. So here's kind of what Xavien Howard has done in recent years. I remember when, a few years ago where I really thought he was one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and he certainly has fallen off a little bit. 2023 season was riddled with injury, and he really played through a lot of injury in 2022 as well. So he certainly isn't the player that he once was. If you want to compare kind of what we got out of Xavien Howard last year with what DJ Turner did last year for Cincinnati, this is kind of what you see. DJ Turner appeared in every single game for the Bengals. As we know, he wasn't a starter in all those games. So that's kind of where the production lies with the two of those guys, right? I think that, if the Bengals were to bring in Xavien Howard, it's not a situation where with Stephon Gilmore, I feel like he would definitely start. I think if the Bengals brought in Howard, I wouldn't say that. I think they certainly would still give opportunity to DJ Turner and Dax Hill to be that guy for the Bengals as far as a cornerback 2 goes behind Cam Taylor-Britt. And we've kind of danced around this here so far, but look, it's Xavien Howard. He's got some off-the-field issues. We're not going to dive into it too much on the show. If you want to, find out exactly what's going on with him, it's your simple Google search away. But, that's certainly a red flag for me. It's not the type of guy you want to bring into your locker room, right? It would kind of be viewed as a desperate move, I feel like, if the Bengals were to bring him in. But like I said, there was a time when he was a top corner in the NFL. I think a few years ago I sat there and I really was like, he might be one of the best ones in the NFL. And that, production has certainly dropped off. And also he's worked with Anarumo before. The Bengals defensive coordinator spent some time in Miami, and obviously Howard's played there his whole career. So they have a bit of a relationship, but I still would stay away, right? Again, I think it would just be a desperate move to bring in a guy like that. Last minute, it'd be one thing if you sign him in the offseason, but kind of seeing what you got in minicamp with Dax Hill and DJ Turner, I think the Bengals are pretty comfortable with what they saw there. So potentially bringing in a guy like Gilmore, that's one thing, but Xavien Howard, I think I'll pass on that. Last guy we'll take a look at today is Dalvin Cook, or as our good friend Tom Downey likes to call him, Dalvin Cooked. And I kind of agree here, right? Look, at one point, Dalvin Cook was a really, really good running back in the NFL, but I'm not exactly sure he is that player anymore. He really just doesn't have that burst that he used to, and we'll talk about that a little more in a second. But real quickly, last chance to get down in the comments and let us know what you think. Of the 4 guys that we've talked about today on today's show, make sure you pick one of them. Pick one of them to sign, whether that be Stephon Gilmore, Xavien Howard, Jerick McKinnon, or Dalvin Cook. Let us know down in the comments section right now. So this is what you're kind of seeing from Dalvin Cook, right? The production really just hasn't been there. And I think he could certainly fit in with the Bengals as maybe a physical runner, right? He's certainly the opposite of the kind of running back that Jerick McKinnon is. But I think the Bengals moving off Joe Mixon, they kind of want to go in a different direction. They're not looking for that back. And as far as bringing in an older guy that, you could probably get him for certainly cheap and kind of like a prove-it deal situation. But I really don't see the point in bringing him in. One last time, we'll take a look at what we're dealing with here at the running back room. You've kind of got that flexibility between the RB1 and RB2 spot. I think that, Chase Brown will, overtake Zack Moss at some point. But you're not going to bring Dalvin Cook in to be your running back 1, right? He just doesn't have that in the gas tank anymore. So on that one, I would stay away. I think there could be an argument that he has a small role with the Bengals, in short yardage situations perhaps, but I'm staying away if I'm Duke Tobin and Cincinnati. And I want to remind you guys to subscribe to our channel here at Bengals Breakdown. We talked about our like battle early in the show. We still got that sub battle going on as well. So, getting close to the end of the month here, so I want to get those numbers up. You guys have done an excellent job, but we can still push it a little bit more across the June finish line. So do us a favor, hit that sub button. That is youtube.com/BengalsTV.